coming at you live from my ever-changing light situation. Since the days of old, the 1900s, there's been a face haunting the horror genre. Some people call him the white ghost guy, some people call him Scream, and then other people properly call him Ghostface, or them. Since it came out, this has been genuinely horrifying, and still is today to some people. The first Scream is touted for its cleverly written dialogue, the chemistry between its perfectly casted characters, and oftentimes specifically for the over-top comedic performance that Matthew Lillard gives. As the franchise went on, more comedic elements showed through, especially in the third installment, and it has, in recent installments, struggled to maintain the terror and tension the old ones held.
A delicious blend of fun and fright that's smashingly scary.
Screaming at the top of my lungs and laughing hysterically all at the same time.
Kevin Williamson and Wes Craven melded comedy and horror seamlessly together, and they both held each other up in the best of ways. The scary parts seep darkly through the movie as a contrast, and the comedic parts only hit harder when we need the tension broken in uncomfortable scenes. Billy tearing through pillows in anger in the background while Stu is losing his mind as every breath may be his last gives the audience exactly what we need at this moment. Stu takes all of this rather lightly, showing his inability to realize the horror that he's created, while Billy's reaction to this stressful situation shows a disregard for their carefully put together plan, and that his hatred for Sydney is truly the reigning thing in his mind. There is no good and bad or black and white in any of this though. Radio Silence very successfully brought back the franchise and brought us a more intimidating Ghostface than we've ever seen. The final girl counterpart to our slasher is great too, whether that be Sam or Tara. While Jenna Ortega's performance is stronger during her moments of terror, Sam's emotional availability is realistic, and her headstrong nature creates a very demanding screen presence, especially in Scream 6 for me. So what's my complaint? Well, it's mainly in the direction, the physical or voice performance, and in the dialogue given to Ghostface in these later movies. Physically, Ghostface is a powerful presence in the latest two installments. The way the direction and cinematography allow their entire body to fill the frame, the slow-moving pace of the kills, and yes, the lack of chase scenes in Scream 5 all contribute to this feeling, although Scream 6 did make up for that. When Ghostface used to jump at our protagonist, we would see the stumbles, the fight back, and the destruction of the surrounding area, sometimes almost to a comedic effect. These moments showed us that we are able to defeat the villain. They're not an unstoppable force through super strength or somebody that has supernatural abilities. The unstoppable nature of Ghostface shine through their ruthfulness and desire to continue despite how fragile they are underneath the mask. In this article from Far Out Magazine, the writer Amy Ferrier says that the newer movies lack the comedic sense that the first ones did. Quote, "Once a figure imbued with slapstick, Ghostface has now become more terrifying. The campiness that made the previous 4 Scream movies directed by Craven so good, 3 of them, which were written by Williamson, isn't emulated as well here, and as a result, Ghostface loses all of his comic charm." End quote. And while comedy is inherently subjective, these movies feel they intentionally lack the comedic sense in favor of a more intimidating and serious tone intentionally. The article continues, quote, "By the 5th and 6th installments, Ghostface hardly retains the comedy that once made the villain such a work of genius. Ghostface stands tall and dominating, possessing a menacing sense of pure dread. In one scene, he even stalks around a corner shop with a gun. Something it's hard to imagine Billy and Stu doing when they were under the costume." End quote. Let's compare 2 scenes. Sydney and Tara's first encounters with Ghostface. Tara's scene has Ghostface take a hit, shake it off, grab her by her head, smash her to the ground one-handed, take a hit to the chest, shake it off, break her ankle in one hit, and then get hit. But this is where the tension takes an interesting turn. Ghostface rises and slowly takes over the camera, taking up more of the screen than before, and we see their presence as unstoppable as the action continues. And none of that is to say it's a bad scene. It is very well done, but the movements from Ghostface feel choreographed, like a trained killer is inside the house, not a teenage girl. Comparing side by side though, we see Sydney's fight where we also get a slam into the ground, but only used as a last resort for Ghostface as Sydney keeps throwing juicers at him. And this isn't really exactly the same thing that we saw with Tara because Ghostface really did throw her down with one hand. Back to the Sydney scene, we also get a slower moment here where the knife teases her body, a subtle clue that could be used to piece the killer back to being Billy, who has been shown to be obsessed with Sydney's virginal status before. Going throughout the scene, we get a very human stumble, a very close chase up the stairs, and another interesting scene that we can put side by side where the victim puts a door between themselves and Ghostface. Here we see Ghostface struggle in a desire to get through the door, and to Sid in an almost animalistic sense, while in Scream 5, Ghostface quickly backs away, calls, and begins a new mind game and a tactic to get into the house. What I'm getting at in these comparisons is that Ghostface lacks the humanity and need to get to the victim as they have in the earlier films. Moving on from the physical performance, we're going to be talking about something I'm frankly a little bit nervous to get into. I'm not hating on Roger L. Jackson for the sake of clicks. I'm judging the movies based on the strength I believe that they could gain from critique because I love them. There is no Ghostface without Roger L. Jackson. The dialogue given to him is good, yes, but it sticks to landing and defines the character because every line is delivered with such gravitas and impact. There are 2 things that could be let's say updated, that would reinvent the character's impact to the audience to keep it from feeling stale if they decide to continue with the franchise, which I'm sure they will.
They're gonna make him do this till he's 90.
The issue lies in the routine that these scenes have developed from the beginning.
Could you get that?
Phone call. Tension rises, threats are delivered, hang up.
Hang up on me and I'll cut through your neck until I feel bone. No, you listen, you little bitch. You hang up on me again, I'll cut you like a fish, understand? If you hang up on me, you'll die just like your mother.
Call back. Threats are doubled down on and taken further. Ghostface pops out. Boo. The thing that doesn't make sense is this character, this character, this character, this character, and this character are so entirely different from each other once the mask is off. Yet Ghostface remains consistent in their intimidation tactics while under the mask or through the phone. The dialogue given to them is too similar and too consistent to the point where it's obvious that they're just trying to replicate the success of the first one. In this process, they're ignoring their abilities that they know they have to write a motivation that peeks throughout the movie and isn't just delivered to us at the end of the movie on a platter through a villain's monologue. Billy and Stu, of course, had their strongest connection to Sydney, and their dialogue throughout the movie, upon a rewatch, can help us connect the dots. It's lines like this.
If you hang up on me, you'll die just like your mother. Do you want to die, Sydney? Your mother sure didn't.
That give us a sense of a killer's goal and that they might have a motivation that we can use context to understand. This is diametrically opposed to the way that I rewatched Scream 5, where Richie's character doesn't have anything peek through to give a hint that he is Ghostface.
No.
That I remember. He's given dialogue and action that are intentionally used to throw us off the scent so that his big reveal is surprising, but audiences don't want to be entirely surprised. Audiences like guessing. They like telling their friends that they were right because they noticed something in dialogue or in the background, and we don't get that. It feels cheap, maybe. Detective Bailey, however, was actually used really well in Scream 6 with his dialogue about having a family and a son. This doesn't entirely sit on the shoulders of Radio Silence, though. I believe this paint-by-numbers dialogue goes all the way back to Scream 3 and 4. Lines are mostly threats now, albeit very well-written and gross threats, but Jill and Charlie's motivation has to be spoon-fed. And with that behind-the-scenes late-game switch-up in Scream 3, I believe that movie has the same issue, where Roman's very odd monologue that feels very Days of Our Lives comes through. What did I say before, though? All of the dialogue, good or bad, for Ghostface is propped up by Roger's performance. And while I don't feel he's phoning it in, I just feel he's actually learned this character really well and could do this in his sleep. Why does Roman, a man in his 30s, abandoned and alone in his life, and a man, because he's in film, that understands the impact of dialogue,
Roman Bridger, director.
speak as Ghostface with the same cadence that Richie does? Richie is an insecure little man-child that had his high school girlfriend do all of the work for him. If they wanted to continue down the path of a more physically intimidating Ghostface as they have been doing, it could be through dialogue and Roger's performance that we see cracks form. These people are all strong-willed in what they want to get done, but they're insecure and weak-minded. Maybe they're not all the way there, and some might not be as good at keeping the guys up as others. The composure could drop, the anger could show through, and we might get a hint for eagle-eyed viewers as to who might be under the hood. A common criticism is that the killers can't be guessed with the context the viewer is given, especially with how the killers seem to constantly change during production. The lack of confidence and bravado in the performance could be a way to show the hand of the antagonist. Although the franchise's most recent entries are entertaining, financially successful, and mostly enjoyed by critics and audiences, I don't feel that it's a return to form like other people have said, and that's a good thing. But there are aspects that feel recycled inside a movie that is trying to feel fresh in its own little ways. I'm hoping with further entries that we get a more interesting take on Ghostface. On the other hand, I recognize the comfort and rigidity that consistency in a characterization can bring. And I also understand that these killers are intentionally trying to stay consistent, so that they can pay homage to other killers within the universe. I don't know. It makes sense, and it kind of doesn't at the same time. So I get why they want to keep it consistent, because change is scary and it could hurt the box office. I also think that Scream 7 could accurately reflect my opinions in this video, potentially. Spoilers for Scream 7. It's nothing that hasn't been already announced by the actual filmmakers themselves, but just in case you don't want to know anything, skip to the point in this video where there's nothing right here. With Stu, Roman, and probably Billy coming back, we could potentially see side-by-side performances while they're under the mask. I'm curious if their side-by-side dialogue, writing, and performances will all mush together, or if they'll be given distinguishing features. If you feel similarly, differently, or have any other thoughts, leave those in the comments below. I have a lot of other horror content on this channel as well, so check that out if you're interested. Give this a like, share it. Otherwise, thank you for watching.